In this short video, I'd like to tell you about the job requirement exercise. The job requirement exercise that seeks to create a person specification for you in the language of the psychometric exercises that we're going to be using. In an ideal world, we would know exactly what the profiles of high performers look like, and those people who are pretty average in the job, or those people that don't do the job particularly well. And it is possible, and some clients do invite me to undertake such an assessment of high performers, average performers and low performers, so that we can clearly get some idea about what it is we're looking for. You know, what are the differentiating characteristics between high performers and the other groups? What are the danger zone characteristics that you definitely don't want to see in a candidate that the low performers have? What are the confusional characteristics that make high performers and low performers look pretty similar when you meet them for interview, and indeed make the selection decision making more problematic, so that you choose somebody who down the line doesn't fit at all, who is a problem. So doing that sort of research, doing that sort of analysis beforehand, if you have the population available to do it, if you've got the time available to do it, if you have the resources available to do it, can be very helpful and worth its weight in gold. But it's not possible often to do that. So let's do a job requirement exercise using the psychometric profiles in order to establish exactly what it is you are looking for. Let's create a person specification in the language of the psychometrics. Well, on the ability test front, that's straightforward enough. We can just establish what criterion level you want to see in a good candidate by drawing a line and saying, say, we want our shortlisted candidates to score above the 50th percentile in a numerical critical reasoning test, which is set at this level of difficulty. You might do the same with a leadership judgment indicator and say, look, we want people who score in the top quartile, at least in the top quartile, or we might say something like, in this job, you've got to know when and when not to take control, or when and when not to empower, and therefore we want people to be displaying judgment in that regard in the top quartile. Okay, so that's straightforward enough. But on the personality front, what we can do is we can take, say, an OPQ personality chart or a motivation chart, and we can say, what are the characteristics that are absolutely critical for job success? Imagine asking that of everybody on the selection panel, so that everybody can get an opportunity to express their view independently at first, and then they can compare and contrast what they think, so you get a consensus. That consensus will be invaluable to you. You'll save a lot of time if you can get that consensus. If you could determine what it is that people believe are critical for job success on the OPQ chart, as well as those characteristics that are important, perhaps an agreement on those things that are not so important, but also, importantly, on those factors that would contraindicate job success, that everybody agrees would really get in the way. So you can see how useful that would be. Imagine using the Hogan Development Survey chart in that respect as well, so you can all agree what danger zones, what are the areas that you really don't want to see people derailing into, that would truly get in the way, that would truly have a toxic effect on the team, on the culture. Well, let's establish that up front so that we can really get some idea about what it is we're looking for and what we're not looking for. And then, of course, when you've got the successful candidate on board, how about inviting them to do the job requirement, so you can see whether or not there's a real congruence between their ideas about the job and yours. Well, what an important conversation that will be. And then, of course, invite them to see how they stack up against the job requirement so they can see why it is you selected them. But also, inevitably, there will be areas where there's some shortfall, where there's a development need. They can see that. They can appreciate that. They can take ownership over that if they will, and build that into their induction plan, build that into their continuing professional development. So you can see how useful the job requirement exercise process is. I warmly recommend it to you. I think we should do it at the beginning of every assignment before we begin the psychometric profiling. Please don't hesitate to ask me to email the job requirement exercise forms to you so that you can begin that process as an important first step in our relationship. Well, I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks very much for watching and listening.